Hey everybody, Cameron here with Plottr. Writing a good story isn't just about good prose. There's so much more that goes into creating a compelling story. Behind the words, which are your prose, there's actually two levels of architecture, story architecture, let's call it, that require both artistry and engineering in order to craft a compelling story. And today I'm going to tell you about all three of the levels, all three of the skills that you need as a writer in order to craft a really compelling story. Most people don't talk about the other two levels of architecture on top of the prose that are needed to make a good story. For whatever reason, they're just kind of ignored. The first level is story. And that has to do with character choices, internal and external conflicts, pacing, emotional ups and downs, setups and payoffs, plot holes, rising stakes, satisfying ending, those kinds of things. It takes a lot of engineering and architecture, but also some artistry to make that really compelling. And that level is kind of the backbone of your story. The next level is scenes. And scenes have to do with character motivations, each character, value changes for each scene, the emotions changing throughout the scene, personal stakes, the location where the scene is at, the framing of the scene, kind of the camera work of where you see the scene happening. And it's very different than architecting a story. Architecting one scene is very different, and it takes a different skill and a different type of artistry and engineering to make it a really compelling scene. And then the third level, of course, is the prose. And that's the words you use. So the dialogue, word choice, descriptions, show don't tell, finding your voice, using an active voice, and things like that. And there's so many other options there, so many other things. But those three levels, story, scene, and prose, are the three parts of the story that you really need to nail as a writer to make a compelling story. And most writing software and most writing teachers focus on the prose, whereas the story level and the scene level are very important, and they require different skills, and they require a bit of engineering, not so much artistry, but there's also artistry involved with them and your vision of the story. And let me show you in Plottr how we help you to focus on the story and the scene level so that your prose can really shine. So here in Plottr, I've got the hero's journey template up. The templates really help you get at the story level. It helps you to make sure you have a good promise at the beginning and a satisfying ending and a satisfying journey. It also helps you to realize and plan for rising stakes, emotional ups and downs, pacing, internal and external conflicts, and not have plot holes. And Plottr's great at that, helping you to see the plot holes, the sagging middle, pacing problems, and to be able to figure those out through both templates and just seeing it visually. And to explain that a little bit, I'm going to show you the video of someone on our team, LB, who's great at teaching people about Plottr.
Hi, everybody. I'm LB Schulman, and I run Plottr 101 on Tuesdays. Stop by if you want to learn some cool new tips. Now, as Cameron just said, Plottr can save you a lot of time. When I sold my first book, my editor said, could I go through every single scene and jot down the day, date, and time? Didn't take me long to realize that I had been sending my characters to school on a Sunday. And at one point, they had a huge party on Christmas Day with no family in sight. It didn't make any sense. And to go back and revise that mess was a huge project. Now I create a separate plot line on the timeline of Plottr. Every time I write a scene card, I go drop down to that plot line and I quickly jot down the day, date, and time. And in this way, it makes logical sense before I even put the first word down for the first draft.
Next up is the scene level of your story. And Plottr makes that really easy for you to think about those scenes and architect and engineer a really compelling scene. And to do that, you can just click into one of these scene cards. We've got a bunch of templates that will help you with that. And there's different methods you can follow to think about your scene. And if you're familiar with one of these, it makes it so much easier for you. But if you're not familiar with one of these, this will really help you to architect a good scene. So let's choose one of these templates and add it to the scene. Then we've got a separate tab up here to fill out all this information about the scene. You can also add custom attributes, so maybe the value that changes in this scene, or maybe the emotional stakes. So you can fill these out and think through each scene. What is going to change in your scene? What are the emotional stakes? What is each character's motivation? The second way in Plottr that you can think about each scene and engineering it and architecting it so that it is very, very powerful is the new version 2 of our outline here. And to show that, I'm actually going to show you in a different file here. This is the Three Little Pigs, just a simple file, but you can see that in each scene there are multiple parts of the story that have to play well together. So there's a thread about each one of the pigs and sometimes the wolf, and also of course the main plot here. But each one of these scenes you can look at vertically and say, okay, what parts of these scenes do I have to make work together? What order should they come in? You can reorder them and think about each scene individually. So with those two ways, looking at the scene cards and their templates and their attributes, and then secondly, looking at the version 2 of the outline where you can think about each scene individually, that is how Plottr will help you think about the scene level of your story. And then when you start thinking about the prose of your story, you export from Plottr into whatever you write in, your document editor of choice, Scrivener, Word, Google Docs, whatever you're using. And that's where you can start crafting the prose, the dialogue, the word choice, the descriptions, your voice. But all this engineering and architecting work through Plottr of your story and then your scene will show through in your prose, and you'll have you'll have a strong foundation from which to build your prose. So hopefully you can see the artistry and the engineering that's required at all three levels of your story: the story level, the scene level, and then your prose. And hopefully I've shown you how Plottr is going to help you with the story and the scene level and the different skills that you need at each level to be able to craft a compelling story.